Zilbershats and Dr. Sigal Shelach. Thank you very much. We're now going to carry on with Professor Yaffa Zilbershats' address.
We have here Professor Yaffa Zilbershats. She is an associate professor of law. In the past 4 years, she has served as the chair of the Planning and Budgeting Committee of the Council for Higher Education. She's the first woman to serve in that position. And the committee that she heads is responsible for allocating the budget for higher education in Israel. She served as the dean of the Faculty of Law at Bar-Ilan University and as a deputy to the president of Bar-Ilan University, Professor Zilbershats. Good afternoon to everyone. I'm very happy to be here at this very important conference, which is called Navigating in Stormy Water, Time to Change Course, and I represent the higher education system. We think it's something stable, and perhaps it isn't in navigating in stormy waters, and it doesn't need to change course, but there's no more suitable slogan for the subject that I am talking about. The higher education system is very highly impacted by the fourth revolution, the high-tech revolution, the information revolution, and so the meaning of the stormy waters is very relevant for us, and we have to make sure that this water does not swallow us, but rather move us ahead, and that is just by way of introduction. Secondly, I would like to say we just heard an excellent session, and you'll see how it's connected to what I will be saying, but it gave me the association, and I want to say something very important here. I will represent a program of the higher education system, and this program could not exist only if it were to remain only within the higher education system. The great importance and significance of leading change in stormy water is to be in contact with all the parties, all the governmental agencies and the Treasury. Shira Greenberg spoke before me here. She was a full partner to these extraordinary things that you will hear about in a moment. And the same is true for the industry. Yossi Matias was standing here as a representative of the industry who has shown how the academy and the industry can join hands very significantly, and how academy can impact the industry and industry can impact research in the academy. And I think we feel this very broad ecosystem, and this is the time to get into the details themselves. The first slide I will be showing talks about a subject that was discussed here just a moment ago. In Israel's higher education, there is the first nucleus for the great change for marginalized populations and to enable them to be full participants in Israeli society. A holistic project, and it has to be holistic. You have to start from the community centers to the high schools to the academic schools of higher education. And we have reached an increase of 100% of Arabs learning in institutions of higher education. After having mentioned that important achievement, I will add, just as was said here earlier, the Arab population is not homogeneous. The Bedouin population and is on the is a priority of the Council for Higher Education, as is the Ethiopian population. But for the Arab population, I would like to say that our goal was that there would be 17% of students by 2022. As of today, we have already reached that goal. Furthermore, the Technion, an outstanding academic institute that we're very proud of there, the percentage of Arabs is 21%, which is exactly their proportion in the population. And we know that more than 21% will be studying next year. And so I see that we're seeing the harbingers of this work. We're not resting on our laurels. And beyond that, we're talking about the ability indeed to reach the decision-making centers in Israel. And that's where we are in that context. The industrial engine is human capital in high tech, and that is perhaps the greatest barrier to grow more and more, and that is, and indeed the responsibility for the Academy is very great to train these people. We have built a very significant program that has succeeded beyond our anticipation. If in 2015 we had 15,000 students studying for their BA, of which 5,000 more or less in the year 2022 we will have 15,000. We know that that is not enough. We have pilots within the system that have been very successful in this context, and there's more to come. Another subject that is amazing and is worth mentioning, academic research is the infrastructure for all development, future development in Israel. I don't think this audience needs an explanation why basic research is the engine for everything that happens in applied science and in the industry and so on. The best way to advance basic research is by increasing the research funds. Research funds is money that is distributed to researchers on a competitive basis. The budget for these funds has grown by a factor of 300%. In other words, the state has marked this as its flagship. Just do good work and we'll be able to move it ahead. The two main funds are the National Fund for Science and the European Fund, but we also have connections with Germany and other countries, and there will be more in the future. Another thing that symbolizes our ability to generate this great change is an investment in research infrastructures within the institutions, and this is a very big project that we are currently involved in on two tracks. You see the left track, that is the track of research in institutions that is beyond, and we need to look at researchers in the middle of their careers, because the changes are very great, and if we want them up to date, we have to relate to that. And also institutionally speaking, because we're seeing this in the academic institutions, and in my opinion, this is the best direct way to make Israel attractive as a country for research, where the finest minds will come, and I'll talk more about that later. But I think that is a revolution too. And perhaps the most important aspect that integrates the change in the stormy waters, and that is the champions for advancement with some of the greatest researchers in Israel and the institutions regarding the subject of science and quantum technology, and I'd like to say a few things about that. You are hearing subjects about quantum science and technology. If nanotechnology was the new chemistry, quantum science and technology is talking about very great revolutions in physics, that is going to change our lives very significantly. Here we are in a very sophisticated place because we don't have proof that this revolution has occurred and therefore we need to do ABC. But we do know that everyone is anticipating some kind of very important breakthrough in this area, that once it has happened, it changes the whole world of technology. Countries like China are investing in this, billions and billions of dollars. The United States has passed laws that directs billions of dollars to this area. The question is what a country like ours can do to be attractive and relevant in this area. And some very important work has been done in the past 2 years, which has matured in very recent times. And we did a mapping job headed by Professor Sivan, who has been appointed president of the Technion. It's not just quantum science. It's talking about materials and devices and simulations and quantum communications and all kinds of things that need to be dealt with. And there are ways to incentivize the institutions how to do this. We worked on these subjects and we established research funds that we discussed earlier. And we worked in cooperation with the defense industry. And we need to start from the BA to accustom the system to work in this area, and also regarding the establishment of hardcore infrastructures in these institutions so that it will be possible to carry out the research. I will just add that this program was constructed in advance in interface with the defense and general industries, but as basic science, and that's how the whole system views it. Both the defense and regular industries, we're not building a program and see what happens in the industry. Everything is being done at the same time together, and I anticipate that this program will be a very important flagship in the advancement of the State of Israel. Figures. We have marked the figures. We have developed the science of data science and communications data and artificial intelligence and software engineering and the whole area of computer science through data science. We are advancing this subject in the institutions, and what you see on the left side in the larger circles, that is a statement that we have this core of data science and everything that's related to statistics and computer science. Data science is relevant to everything you'll see in the humanities and social sciences and other areas. I see people who are involved nodding. This is the new world, the world where we look at research creatively in a new way, and we are preparing for this new world, and we're making the changes already today. Perhaps the last subject on the flagship, that is the matter of personalized medicine, which is also based on data. That is the use of very large databases that we have in our systems in order to use research based on the genome and on clinical research, and to use it for preventive medicine and personalized medicine. We're doing it in two ways, in very large collaborations with all our friends in the various ministries, in the Ministry for Social Equality and the Health Ministry and the Treasury and many others that I can't think of right now. And anyone who is relevant in the ministries are involved with us. And as we said earlier, we have managed to recruit philanthropy to support these things, and a project that we have received seed money for, we increased to 5 times that amount in order to inject money that will make the change in the academy. In order to demonstrate what I am talking about, or to illustrate what I'm talking about, when you go out to lunch, all you'll have to do is move over to the other building where Professor Reichman and his team have decided to host us. And this is a different perspective on what a campus looked like, what we call the new campus. And that means not only classrooms and a whiteboard and markers. It is a world where students can sit with friends and colleagues and professors and know that the capital venture funds and the industry will also be present on the campus. Professor Reichman at the IDC were pioneers in this area, so you can see them there at the top alongside the other institutions, not because they are the host, but because they deserve that position at the top. And I say they and other things in the world have impacted us very strongly to wake up the more conservative institutions and to start these collaborations and take their institutions to more innovative places. We had, for example, an amazing project that got the support of the Hebrew University, Bezalel Academy of Art, and Azrieli College, and also Jerusalem College. In other words, 4 very strong organizations that want to change so that colleges will no longer be a dirty word, that art and design are things that impact everything in the area of technology and engineering, and that's fine too. And they did some wonderful projects in Tel Aviv, Shenkar College, with Brauda and Tel Chai colleges, and so on and so forth. And last but not least, 2 things I want to talk about more are internationality and some innovations in teaching. As in Israel, we used to talk about going abroad. Look at my arms, going abroad. I'm going for my postdoctorate, I'm going for a lecture, I'm going for a conference. I'm going to study, but there was much less. We found ourselves looking comprehensively at a country with an interesting academic system, startup nation, the IDF, together with that whole new thing developed. But ultimately, we are not a place, a target for people to come to Israel to study. And we thought this was a subject that ought to be raised and also to deal with the issue. And that's what we did. We built a project that we call Study in Israel, but we're not talking about taking a course in Hebrew for a student from Brickland who's come to visit in Israel, which is fine, but that's not the only thing. But we're talking about a wide spectrum of things from the greatest experts, Nobel Prize laureates who will come here for a period of time. When we talk about brain drain and brain gain, bring back the Israelis, and so on and so forth. I did some very important work here in the hallways before dealing with these things. And not only is Israelis, we want anyone who is excellent to be here with us. Postdoctorants are very important for BA, MA, doctorates, postdoctorate. It's a very big project that we call Study in Israel. It is gaining momentum in all its various components, and we're very proud of it and happy. Together, in order to advance it and advance the world, the new campus is not just a campus of these buildings, it is also a campus that uses digitization for studying. We have a huge project on that, which has 2 platforms. It communicates with edX of Harvard and MIT, which gave us open source the knowledge to build a local platform. We already have 50,000 learners, 10,000 who have completed these courses. It's not very much compared to what we have in the academy in general, but I believe that with the proper momentum this will change, and the Council for Higher Education and the Committee for Budgeting and Planning, we have loosened the regulations so that we can make this happen. And more in terms of what we're talking about here, I think that the subject of flagships in research and this entire huge project, preparing the system for the quantum revolution, this is very, very important and significant. Regarding teaching, we are trying to rethink or think anew what is being taught in the institutions, because in our changing world, there are far fewer tenures in work. People are changing jobs. People are more flexible. People are learning differently already in high school. They start school later. 10 years later, their area may no longer be relevant. They may have to update it or change their field, or they earned a lot of money when they were young and now they want to study. We can't keep looking at this as a homogeneous system that gives you your BA by this age and your MA by that age and your PhD, if you're very gifted, by the age of 31 you finished it. The world has completely changed, and if the academic system remains stagnated in this world, just like anything else, it will be unable to progress and move ahead. So what we are proposing, an academic degree is an academic degree. That remains. It's the basis for everything. But we believe that if we take something more concentrated, for example, we did it in high tech, in an area that we call science for high tech, which is a nucleus of study for a degree. And if you're going to do a degree, or you've done a degree, you can add it. You studied law. Why not learn something about high tech, or which could be relevant in law, high tech, or in high tech? And we have established these units, and we very much can encourage the institutions to teach this after the regular degrees. And we believe that the revolution must take one step further. And, you know, there are changes if you're an engineer, there are changes in the area of data. You have experience, you have a degree in mathematics and in basic computer science. You don't want just a minor course in something, but if you want a unit of knowledge, 1 year, to make your knowledge even more relevant, why shouldn't the academic institutions have these units, which will make that possible? We need to think anew. The academic world is not one-dimensional. There is a revolution in teaching too. Let's look at teaching differently as well. Thank you very much.